Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Trade and Connectivity Challenge, 4th edition info session. My name is Jackie. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager at Nordic Innovation House, Singapore, and I will be your host for today. We are very honored to have this opportunity to partner with Enterprise Singapore for this challenge as a country partner, together with our Nordic partners in Singapore. So we have Business Sweden, we have Innovation Norway, Business Iceland, the Embassy of Finland in Singapore, and also the Embassy of Denmark in Singapore. So in today's agenda, I will be giving a short introduction about Nordic Innovation House Singapore, followed by there will be an introduction by Mr. Feng, the Deputy Director of Land Transport and Urban Logistics at Enterprise Singapore. Then we will move on to the challenge information sharing, where we will have Mr. Jared Troy, Senior Development Partner at Enterprise Singapore, to share more about the challenge statements, eligibility criteria, prizes, and of course, the application details for the Trade and Connectivity Challenge. We will also take Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions for the Enterprise Singapore team about the challenge, please put it in the chat box. So for participants joining us today, appreciate your help to keep your mics on mute until the Q&A session. So without further ado, I will move on to sharing about Nordic Innovation House. We are a connector accelerating high-quality Nordic technology, startups, scale-ups, and growth companies. Via our strong community and network, we connect Nordic companies into the right ecosystem and also stakeholders. Supported by Nordic Innovation, we are a unique collaboration between the 5 Nordic countries. We share the same mission of building bridges between the Nordics and the United States and Asia. The first house started in Silicon Valley in 2014, followed by establishments in Singapore, Hong Kong, and Tokyo. So we are pretty much located globally, and it creates more opportunities for Nordic companies to seek new opportunities in new markets around the world. And each location provides a global network, events and programs, and framework tailored to serve the local ecosystem needs. For Nordic Innovation House in Singapore, we drive innovations in Nordic sustainability to global markets. We are also the link between Nordic and Singapore ecosystem players. For example, working with Enterprise Singapore is one of them, government, corporate, SME, and investors as well, to enable more collaboration in focus areas. To serve also as a connector for Nordic tech startups and growth companies into Singapore through activities with our partners. So today, the one that you're joining is one of those partnership activities that we have. Besides that, many of our events and activities are also centered around the Nordic Vision 2030, where the Nordic region aims and will become the most sustainable and integrated region in the world by 2030. So it kind of like similar to Singapore's Green Plan in terms of sustainable developments to meet the green targets for a greener and cleaner future. Next, our focus areas also include sustainable ocean economy, green energy, circular business models, smart connectivity and mobility, life science, and health tech. So for these focus areas, for the past last year, for example, we created events in conjunction with Singapore Maritime Week or Singapore International Energy Week, where we will do a side event and inviting Nordic companies and as well as local stakeholders to come to our event and exchange partnerships, collaborations, and discussion points on the topic itself. So in Singapore, there is myself, Jacqueline, here, and also my colleague, Nicole. She is the community director. If you have any questions and interested to collaborate with us, please feel free to drop us an email. To keep posted on our activities, do follow us on our LinkedIn. Just search for Nordic Innovation House Singapore, and you can also subscribe to our LinkedIn newsletter or our monthly newsletter via email as well. So now I would like to hand over the time to Mr. Teh to share more about Enterprise Singapore, and then we will follow up with Gerald on the challenge statements as well.
Thank you so much, Jackie. So just a quick introduction about Enterprise Singapore, the organization that I represent. Next slide, please. So Enterprise Singapore, we're actually a government body that look after the SME development in Singapore. And as part of our work, we look at very interesting developments, including innovation. We try to help companies with their capability development, and when they are ready, we also have a similar role to bring some of these very capable companies out to international markets. So working with Nordic Innovation Hub and all this is definitely something that we have done before in other thematics, and for us, we are quite keen to further and deepen this collaboration with the Nordic Innovation House to see how can two government bodies with a very similar agenda on promoting innovation can come together. So for us, some of the target that we have for ourselves is really to see how can we help startups gain a good footing in Singapore. We try to smoothen some of the frictions that are faced, trying to work with them to pair them up with very capable enterprises that are willing to invest and also to collaborate with the startups for good solutions. And that's one of the key things that we are trying to do out of this entire exercise. Taking a broader landscape, for us, we are in charge of the economic development of all these SMEs as well as the industries across the various segments in Singapore. And from our perspective, we see innovation and all as probably one of the game changers that can really help our companies as well as the MNCs here to really become prominent in the region. Next, please. So you might ask me, like, Kai, why do you want to talk so much about innovation and all? In Singapore, actually, we do place quite a fair bit of emphasis on innovation. And we are ranked quite highly in terms of our ability to produce good quality environments and policies that encourage innovation, as well as the outcomes that have emerged from our efforts. So you can see that, from the different global reports that are put here, we are ranked pretty high across the internationally as well as in the region for innovative activities. Share a little bit more in the next part. Next, please. So as part of our work that we do in Singapore, we have really tried to build up a huge community of like-minded partners. These are some of them are international players and some of them are homegrown players that are dedicated to the innovation space. They range from accelerators to venture capital companies to also our local institutes of higher learning and research institutions. So all of us have quite a similar approach to embracing innovation. We are open for collaboration. The technology doesn't have to come from Singapore. The use cases doesn't have to come from Singapore, but that's where we try to be the connecting factor, try to be the bridge to matchmake some of these activities that, from startups that you guys have certain ideas and concepts, and we try to help you guys make the connection to some of the MNC as well as the large local companies that are based here. On the space on the left, you can see that there are three quite prominent names: Rainmaking, Starburst, and Move SG. These are actually accelerators that are sponsored by Enterprise Singapore. They represent different space that we're interested in. So like Move SG is in the land mobility space, Starburst is in the aviation space, and Rainmaking is in supply chain as well as a logistics technology type of space. So you can see that the each one of them represent the different segments that we are trying to build capabilities in. And that's where really participation from international startups like from Norway or Sweden and all this is highly recommended. And we are really ready as a country to come and receive you guys and try to help you with the necessary support as well as the resources to make your startups quite successful in Singapore. Next, please. So these are some of the numbers that we have as bragging rights. We do have quite a fair bit of tech startups that are here. This number has reached nearly 4,000 since 22. And you can see the deal size that we have today. It's fairly vibrant just across the first 9 months of 2022, which is in the middle of a COVID year. We have seen close to $8 billion in 517 deals being made. Singapore is also home to some of these unicorns. By definition of unicorn, we are looking at a valuation of more than $1 billion. Next, please. So you might ask, like, why choose Singapore? I mean, there's so much hype about other countries such as Vietnam and Indonesia and all. I guess a lot of startups prefer to be in Singapore because of the environment that you get. It's stable. There's a lot of good policies brought up by the government that are pro-enterprise, and they also assist in addressing some of the concerns that the startups have. So, for example, in terms of like contractual agreements and all this, we are definitely the premier hub for such kind of activities to take place. There's a good recognition of international law. In terms of financing opportunities, I think you will also have seen quite a fair bit of reports that Singapore is now the home to the largest number of family fund trust funds and all. And a lot of them have a mandate to put in some of the monies that they invest in Singapore into the startup ecosystem. So you can see that venture capital firms and all this already have increased their fund size in Singapore. And I think today we see close to $15 billion worth of funds that are available for investments. From the government standpoint, I think there is also a lot of new emphasis on digital programs. We also have seen how we are encouraging more companies to take on productivity solutions and all this. What does this really mean for startups, I guess? From my own view is that these are opportunities for you guys to showcase your kind of solutions that you have. And it's for you guys to show how you can solve some of the pain points. And if these solutions are good enough, they can be rolled out on an industry-wide basis. And this is immense opportunity because some of these adoption and all these are actually funded by the government. So if your solution is good enough, we want to welcome you to come to Singapore. And the last, and also the part that we also emphasize about connectivity and all is really about our ability to be connected to some of the region's champions and giants. Like China is a 4.5-hour flight away. And a lot of these emerging economies and all this, they do take after some of the things that we do as a Singapore government. So if the solutions and all this, the innovation that is being created is something that is seen to have a lot of downstream benefits and all this, you can be quite assured that you selling into all these other countries such as Malaysia and all, it will actually be quite a breeze. Next, please. Now, what is trade and connectivity challenge all about? So while we were doing some of our brainstorming and all this, we realized that there is actually a big disconnect between what startups have in mind as good solutions versus what the MNCs as well as the local companies might need as a solution. The other challenge that a lot of the companies face is that they would want something that is globally competitive, but yet do not have the means to reach out to all these different parts of the community. So that's why Enterprise Singapore has taken on the role of being a platform to connect to like-minded partners like the Nordic Innovation House and all this, to bring in all the different startups and all this to come together to Singapore and to try to help them connect to all these big MNCs as well as the local giants that we have. We try to solve some of these problems of not having ability to have access to a trial. We solve the problem of funding. We solve the problem of having question marks about whether these companies are legitimate in their requests or not. So us as the government coming in, when we work with our partners, we have firm commitments from them that, number one, they are serious about the intent of all these challenge statements that are being put up there. That means to say that we are not holding a competition for the sake of a competition. There will be opportunities for you to test bait your innovation, and it also comes with a contract. This contract is useful when you guys are going out to pitch for more funding and all this, because it shows that there is some commercial viability involved in the solutions that you guys are pioneering as part of the startup solutioning. Second part is that we do have some very good cases of foreign startups and all this that have successfully gotten contracts in Singapore. So this is not a Singapore for Singaporeans type of exercise. We are making this a global challenge, and that's where we hope to have global startups like yourself today to come and participate. And the last part is really, having to smoothen some of these type of innovation process. We do know that, a lot of startups have issues with access to data and all this. So when all these corporates work with us, they did give us the assurance that they will open up their IPs and some of their data for you guys to work with, so that you have actual live type of data to work and to test your solutions with. So some of these kind of frictions that startups face, we're trying to smoothen it out. Us as the Singapore government, we do have some credibility in when we talk about all these types of companies that we work with. So you can be assured that these guys are going to honor their word when they say that they're going to offer certain kind of resources and support. For us, this innovation process, we have put in quite a fair bit of resources. We have brought in a lot of experts to come to help the corporates to sharpen their challenge statements, all the way down to the facilitation itself of the engagement. So when we talk about mentoring and all this, you can expect to see some experts being deployed on the ground. And this will be helpful when you guys have the conversations with the corporates and all this. So you can see that this is really, all hands on deck type of approach for, and we talk about embracing innovation in Singapore. Next, please. Now, for this year, we are focusing on 4 thematics: sustainability, supply chain resilience, transport and mobility, as well as robotics and automation. We do have quite a fair bit of challenge statements. We have been very focused this year. I think we're down to 7 in total. And the reason why we're doing it is to try to address some of the more advanced type of challenges that is faced by the industry. Maybe I can share with you a little bit more about the different challenge statements that are being posted. Next, please. So you can see from here that we have big names like Valori Logistics and all. They are looking at automated solutions with the packaging, and this is to really help them to automate some of the processes and be less reliant on manpower. Equatorial Marine Fuel Services is really talking about sustainability. How can they really optimize their voyage routes and try to reduce fuel consumption? So this is something that's really new to the market. And I think the good part about it is the scalability. Once the solution is adopted and all, it has the potential to be deployed across the various ports. Next, please. We have IMC, which is also a maritime company. For them, this is a process enhancement type of solution they're looking for, trying to put together data, getting insights on how they can make better decisions when it comes to deployment of their vessels. PSA Global, PSA Corporation. This is a mega billion-dollar company that has ports all around the world, and they're trying to see how can they reduce the carbon footprint that is emitted from some of the products that they use. So it once again touches on sustainability. Next, please. So now it's a trading company, and basically what they do is that they deal with different type of products, and a lot of them involves a bit of scanning of information, collecting of data that's sensitive to their business operations. So they are trying to see how this ERP system and all this can be enhanced. And Toll Group, I think a lot of you will be familiar with them. They are one of the largest logistic players globally, and they're trying to see how they can do some of this industrial automation, trying to make some of the industrial trucks and all this to be operated virtually. And the last one is that how can they do some of these counting and for the cartons and all this kind of inventory in the warehouse setting. Next, please. So as you can see, there's really quite a lot of very interesting type of challenge statements that are being brought up. You can find more details on our website, and some of the secondary level details and all these of the kind of solutions that the various companies are looking for and all this can be found on our website itself. There are YouTube links that are being enabled in the site that you can click on, and they will contain about a 10 to 15 minutes briefing of what kind of solutions and to what kind of specifications that are these various companies looking for as part of the solutioning. If I can interest you in some of the timelines that we're looking at, we launched Trade and Connectivity Challenge late in October in 2022. All the closing for the applications is in 31st of March this year. And following which we'll do some kind of shortlisting. You'll be informed if you're shortlisted, and you'll be invited for some of the mentoring sessions as well as site visits. It doesn't matter for our overseas friends. You're worried that you have to fly to Singapore. Not to worry, we have options for you to dial in virtually. And there will be a web experience where we will film some of the stuff and do some kind of a live stream of sorts for you guys to virtually visit the kind of actual deployment sites. And those service managers and all this, they are going to be on hand to answer some of the questions that you guys have. If you make it all the way through to the grand final, that's going to be in July. And we hope that some of you guys will be featured. We did have more than half of the people that were in the what we call as the pitch day last year. There were actually half of them were actually from foreign entities. So rest assured, it's a fair and transparent process, and we really hope to see some of you guys at the pitch day itself. Next, please. So this is something that is really quite unique in the Asian context, and we like to give away a lot of prizes. So this prize money of up to 100,000, these monies are just from Enterprise Singapore. I'm not even talking about the contract values that you guys can get when you work with the corporates that have put out the challenge statements itself. So really, there's a lot of support financially and non-financial type of support that's out there. And really, we hope that you guys can be one of the winners. So some of the highlights that we have, these are just bragging rights for us. As you can see, we have quite a fair bit of big MNCs that have worked with us previously, gotten very satisfactory results. And it's really a global competition that we are trying to promote here. Last year, we have more than submissions from more than 75 countries that we got. Yeah. So you guys probably might ask, how do I qualify and all? So this is some of the conditions that we have. And we just want to be upfront that we want to really help the startups here. So in our world, the definition is not more than, it cannot be incorporated for more than 10 years. It should not have a headcount of more than 200 packs, else it doesn't really quite qualify as a startup anymore. And because some of the conditions for us is that the trials and all this that you guys do with the corporates and all this should be done in Singapore as much as possible. And for you to qualify for Enterprise Singapore's prizes and all this, you have to have some form of entity in Singapore. This is for us to be able to disperse the monies to you, because we have to disperse according to a legally registered entity in Singapore. Next. Yeah, and this is really the terms and conditions on how you qualify for some of our prize monies. But we just put it in just to be transparent. Yeah. Next. So question is that, if you do not win the competition, is it an end all for you guys? The answer is no. As you can recall from my earlier slide, that we have quite a lot of corporate accelerators and all this that we have worked with closely, and we have funded some of them. So actually, there is still opportunities for you guys to work with them, to reach out to other corporates who may not be part of the Trade and Connectivity Challenge, but still within our ecosystem. And that's where there's also opportunities for you guys to see how the solutions can be tweaked, and to see opportunities for you to pitch to them. Yeah. And for us, if you qualify as a Singapore enterprise, which is defined as a 30% shareholding owned by Singaporeans, you can also tap on our Enterprise Singapore's support schemes and receive some support from my team. Yeah. Okay. Well, I come to the end of the sharing. So if you have questions, feel free to drop me an email, and we'll be happy to take questions. So maybe over back to you, Jackie.
Okay, thank you so much, Feng, for the great detailed introduction on Enterprise Singapore and of course the challenge details. Before we move on to the Q&A, for our audience, if you have questions, please feel free to put it in the chat right now. We are actually going to show a launch video of the Trade and Connectivity Challenge. So while we are playing that, and you have any burning questions for them, please feel free to add it into the chat and we'll look at it right after. Okay, let me set up the... sound.
So as the leading integrated logistics partner for Asia Pacific, TOE is looking towards innovation as a key focus for our 2.0 growth strategy. In fact, with the launch of the Innovation Center on 1st November, we will also be initiating the TOE Accelerator Program. Therefore, we thought that the timing is perfect now that we can leverage on the TCC 4.0 version launch coming, that we can start engaging with the potential startups as well and bringing them onto our program.
I actually joined the Trade and Connectivity Challenge this year because we found it a useful platform to reach the global startups around the world. And we find this a great opportunity for us to not just connect and liaise with them, but also to synergize and see how they use our infrastructure to expound on their solutions.
The startup community is capable of introducing disruptive innovations and solutions to cater to the rapid changes and new regulations in the market.
But we're looking to go the distance together, all the way, especially to the paid trials, which actually shows the commitment that everyone has towards making this a success.
What are you waiting for?
Apply to TCC
4th edition now.
Okay. So that was the launch video by Enterprise Singapore. Hopefully it give you like a motivation to check out the challenge statements. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put in the chat, or perhaps raise your hand, the virtual hand if there's any, or unmute yourself. Do we have any questions from the participants today? I think today everyone's a bit shy. Maybe I have a quick question. So earlier on, I think Kai, you were mentioning the incorporation wise, it has to be less than 10 years. So when it comes to incorporation, for example, Nordic companies, they might not have a entity here yet. So how would the team actually evaluate you if, let's say, they will only incorporate, you will take the incorporation from the country that they incorporated in?
Yeah, we'll take the incorporation from the date that they come from the countries that they come from. Yeah, we understand that the incorporation in Singapore may or may not take place until they have some developments. I mean, it's only fair to say that only when you have certain contracts that you have secured in Singapore and all this, then you will want to incorporate entity in Singapore. So we understand this part, and we will take from the date in which they are incorporated back in the home country that they come from. Yeah.
Okay. What if in the case that they are transitioning, going to incorporate here and they really did, then you will take the latest one, which is the Singapore, or still?
We will take the earlier one, yeah.
The earlier one, the one in the hometown.
Yes, from the home country they come from.
Home country. Okay, got it. So probably that is one of like the common questions they would probably have.
That's right.
Less confusing. Okay.
Yes.
Any questions from the audience, or ESG team would like to specifically highlight for participants joining, applicants, sorry, interested to apply?
I guess some of you guys might be shy, but not to worry. We have our contact details put up there, and any questions that you have, you can go to the website. There's a help desk that we have set up, and the team will be happy to take on and guide when necessary.
I also believe that earlier, I think was it last year, you had a launch event whereby you had all the corporate challenge statements companies actually going into more detail, like what they were looking for. I think the video is actually on the website.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So all the different challenge statements all have like a 10 to 15 minutes briefing, sharing in-depth concerns from the companies, what are the issues that they face, in terms of the solution they're looking for, the budget, the size, and even the technologies that are being used. All these details are shared in some of the videos that are there. And for interested participants, I would highly encourage you all to go and really go through the video, because that's where you get a sense of where all these corporates are looking out for in terms of the priorities and all. And when you design the solution and all, these are the things to look out for. So for example, like the budget, if the end product shouldn't be costing more than $10,000 a piece to manufacture, please make sure that the solution is able to fit that kind of budget, or the size is important to them. Then we have to make sure that when you talk about the engineering and all, it has to be of a certain quality that fits the kind of size requirements.
So for interested applicants, check out their website. I believe they have more details in terms of per challenge statement. I think if you have even more questions that is not available, just feel free to you can reach out to me as well, or the ESG team on your questions. And then from there, they probably will work with the individual corporates, and then get more accurate explanations or perhaps answers for you to make sure your proposal submitted is accurate. Yeah. So
yeah.
Okay, I think this session today is pretty short. It's really mainly to tell you there is this opportunity for trade and connectivity here in Singapore, and it's really something that continuously ESG brings many opportunities for companies overseas, and of course looking into the Singapore landscape. And so without further without any more questions, I think we can end off the session today. We are pretty much ahead of a little bit of time, about 3 minutes more. But so thank you. Thank you, Kai, and thank you, Eugene, Benjamin, and Jared, for putting the time into this. And we hope to continue to promote this as well as a country partner for TC.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to our sharing. We hope it's insightful, and we look forward to your participation. Great, thanks to the Nordic Innovation House too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.